Hey everyone, this is Melvin from pseudoutility.com, and I'm going to give you guys a quick tutorial on getting started with the mod tools now that the mod tools have hit open beta. Okay, so we're going to start with the mod tools launcher. Okay, so the mod tools launcher basically, as you can see here, is a pretty simple interface, and we've just got a bunch of different things here. Here's the APE, here's Radiant. We're not going to get into that quite yet. First, what we're going to do is we're going to build a map properly, in a sense. We're going to start properly. And how you do that is you hit File, you hit New. And this brings up the map or mod, what do you call it, template. Okay, so you're going to name, for multiplayer maps, the designation always starts with MP. So MP underscore, and then your map name. So for example, it will be MP underscore beta test map. As you can see, I've already built one here. So then you hit OK. This will create all your files that you need. Okay, and so if you want to build a zombie map, again, it goes to the same thing. You click New. You go to the drop-down template and you go to zombie map mod level. Now these are maps. Sorry, oops, I hit the wrong button. File, New, and then again down the drop-down menu. Pick the ZM mod level. Type in ZM underscore beta test map, and you can see, and then you hit OK, and boom, all the files are created. Okay, so for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through a few things. Excuse me. We'll go through a few things in the editor, and we're going to talk about adding favorites to your context menu, making a brush. We'll make a patch. We'll hollow out a brush, give you guys a quick example of how, using the toolbar menu, and then we'll attach some patches, maybe do some welding, and then we'll call that a day for this tutorial, and we'll get onto another one right away. Okay, so for now, let's select MP beta map test map that we just made, and we'll click on the Radiant button in the mod tools launcher. Now what this does is opens up the Radiant Black Edition, and this takes a second to open up, but it's actually relatively quick. As you get more and more into the map, more things will have to be loaded, so it'll be a little bit slower, but in a general sense, it's pretty good. Okay, so I've got a bunch of things here I'm going to have to pull into Windows. This is not exactly set up the way you would see it normally when it comes down to, oh, look at all the people coming on and off. This is not exactly set up the way it would be initially, but what we're going to talk about here in a sense would be, let's see here. First off, let's talk about adding favorites, and that would be the entity browser. Okay, so in the entity browser, you have the ability to do a bunch of stuff, and you can find stuff here, like if you look at volume here, it's got all different kinds of volumes you might use. If you look at triggers here, a bunch of different triggers you might use. But first off, what we're going to do is you can search here. So here we're going to search models. And as you see here in recently used, you've got miscellaneous and miscellaneous prefab. My favorites are already added here. So if you right click on it, when it shows up, you hit toggle favorites, and see miscellaneous model just disappeared off the list here. If I right click on it, toggle favorite, it's back on. Okay, so if I right click here on the menu, you can see our miscellaneous models now on the bottom instead of where it used to be, because I took it off, put it back on. I'm not sure if you can move these in position. No, you can't. So you'd have to remove all the other ones and then put them back on if you wanted in a certain spot, I guess. But regardless, that's how you add it to the context menu, so you can actually drop them down really quickly. As you can see here, I've got a model added to this. Now, so if I want to make a zombie map, and I'm working on one with Grim, and we're using his metal barriers, here I've got his metal barrier added to the context menu on right click. So if I go right click here and I click that, boom, it drops in that prefab. And that prefab consists of a bunch of nodes and the what do you call, blockers for the zombie map. Now, obviously that's not a multiplayer item, so we're not going to need that. We're going to delete that. But you get an idea that you can add, by searching for different things in the context menu, you can add all the different things you want. And as you can see here, if you want actors, you want Spawn ZM Factory, zombie, you can here toggle that to favorite. And now you can right click and it's boom right there. Okay, so I'm going to untoggle that because I don't use that right now, but you get the point. Okay, I think that should explain, in the sense, setting up the entity browser to work with your right click context menu. Secondly, what else do we have here? We have setting up the editor itself. I guess we should talk about that. Okay, the editor works in tabs. And so you can move these tabs around. You can completely separate it, so it's like so. Bring it down here, hit maximize, and boom, this is all taking up the the whole screen. I can move this back into the same by grabbing the tab itself. I can move it back into here. Let's put it there for now, and then we just grab again the tab. We can move it across this whole one, and now it takes up, and now everything is tabbed through here, as you can see here. Okay, so what windows do you have? You have the texture window. Let's go to what we need to look at. Okay, so here, toggle. If you go up to view and then go to toggle, you can see there's a bunch of different things you can get to. And for the purpose of this, I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to drag a bunch of these other windows that I'm using over here. Or I'll just close them down and then I'll bring them back up. So give me 1 second while I close all these different windows or tabs that I've been using. And then we'll go and enable them all. Okay, so if you go up to view and you go to toggle, you can see here there's a model pane, which is hotkeyed as M, filter pane is F, entity pane is N, entity browser is B. So first off, we hit B. You can see there's entity browser. We hit T. Oh, sorry, we're in the search bar. But if we're not in the search bar and we hit T, brings up the texture window. If we hit an M, that brings up the model window. Now the model window is all over here and saying all in use. We have no models in the map, so we select all, and this will show us a bunch of the models. And you can see there is a ton of assets. I've also installed the DLC content pack, but we'll get into that in a second, I guess, or maybe I'll do that in another tutorial so that it's easy for people to know exactly where to get it. But really, that is just a like any other DLC. Just look for DLC with the mod tools, and you'll see there's a about 45 gig content pack that you can download to help you make a lot of different things with a lot more different pieces in it. Okay, so anyways, you can take the tab, and for this purpose I'm going to swing it over here and cover the whole piece, and then it's going to drop it in here. So now I've got my models tab, and I've got my entity browser tab, I've got my top view, we've got the filters window, which allows us to hide volumes, bring them up, we can hide the skybox, you know, all that kind of stuff. What else? Textures, we've got the camera view, which is here. And I think you guys get an idea how that works. Basically, you can like I said, you can swing these to work in different ways. You can have it work on only 1/2, so you can have your model window up here. A good way a lot of people would work on a single monitor screen would be to have this model or this window over here, which is your 2D window. Okay, so that brings up to the 2D window. Very good thing to explain. 2D window, you navigate to the 2D window with a right click. Holding down right click, you can scroll around or you can move around the map. Using Control Tab, you can change the position of the camera. So you can look from the YZ side. You can look from X, Y top down. If you look at it, we'll zoom out a little bit and then zoom into the middle, as you can see all the different pieces from the top. And then you can look from the XZ front. Okay, so this gives you a example of the different angles you can look at the models from. So when you're building a brush, which is hold down left click and drag, you can see you can build it on this side. And I'll delete that first. Or you can build it top down. It wouldn't matter either way. First off, I'm going to build a brush here. You do this again by holding down left click and dragging out. This is always done on the 2D grid, so you definitely need the 2D grid to make stuff work. Okay, so where's this model? There's my model. There's my brush. Now the texture doesn't look too bad. Now you can drag the brushes here by holding down left click above the brush and dragging up or dragging down. You can drag out to the side or so, and if you look at the 2D grid, you keep it in the proper dimension. The grid I'm using right now is on 8. That is the 4 key. The hotkey for that is 4. If you hit 3, you'll see the grid goes down to 4. If you hit 2, the grid goes down to 1. It goes to 1, and the tilde key, it goes down to 0.5. If you want to go slower than 0.5, use the left square bracket. That will take you down to 0.3, which is actually 0.25. And then again, square bracket up, you can cycle through all of them, all the way up from 16 to 32, 64, 128, 256, and then 512 and 124. Sorry, 1024. Now, if you go down to 16, you can notice you can go to 12. 12 is good for steps, but we'll get into that later. For now, we've got this brush here, which we, again, dragged out by left-clicking on the 2D grid. We're going to bring up the texture window. And so for this purpose here, we are going to go and pick all. Now, when you here at the top, you've got all in use, and all in use just again shows you what you're using in the current map you're building. And if you click on all, just like in the models tab, you'll be able to see all the textures available to you. Now, this texture, and this texture right here they're customs. So is the skull in alleyways. But for now, we're just going to go down here, scroll down until we get to a nice solid texture. Let's see here. I've got a ton of so bricks here. Let's go with a nice brick texture here. Let's go brick. Irregular worn. Here we go. This is good enough. Okay, we're going to click on T7 brick irregular _worn _01. It's a lit detail texture. We'll get into that's to do with the Acid property editor and how you set up your textures. But we'll get into that when we do custom textures. For now, we're just going to go back to the camera window. And we're going to see that by double clicking on the texture window. Let's drag this over here for a minute. Let's put it up here. By dragging for the texture window here, if you go down to the brick textures that were down, well, let's just type in brick, make it easy. Brick. Oh, one too many Ks. Okay, so if you go down the brick textures, by double clicking, excuse me, I'm getting over something. Okay, so if you double click on the window over here, you can change the textures by just double clicking the texture window. You can see. So yeah, so basically dragging out the brush after you assign your texture to it. Normally what I would suggest you do is build your stuff in caulking texture. I think that's it, is it not? Not showing up. Let's just go all textures here. Hold on a second, I like it bigger. Okay, so this texture here, caulk, is how you build everything. This allows the editor to see solid space, but at the same time does not draw the texture. So building and caulking helps you build proper portaling in a sense, and that's another topic we'll get to quite quickly, but just not in this video. But for now, let's just build a caulk texture. It actually makes it simplest. This way you get started off with a good habit. So we're going to build this 2D brush. We're going to do two things here. One is we're going to go back to the top-down view. I'm going to see we got it selected. We're going to deselect our brush by hitting escape. Then we're going to left select and left shift and left click. Holding down left shift, we're going to left click. That allows you to select and deselect a brush. And so once you have it selected, you're going to hit Control C and Control V, and then you're going to, not touching anything, just left click on the red arrow here and drag that brush over. You've now copied the brush without moving the original one. Now, if you use the original method of that most people used back in COD World of War and COD4, which is to hit the spacebar, you would move your 2D window and then you hit spacebar, and that would shift it over one unit. And as you can see, you can drag it back into place so it's over top of where it was. But you're better off to Control Paste or Control C, Control V. It just makes it easier. But whatever method you like. Okay, so I'm going to delete this brush, and I'm going to take this brush here, and we're going to stretch this out using, again, Control Tab. That's going to shift our window. We can see we're on a 4 unit here. So we're going to bring that up one more unit. So sorry, we're using a 1 unit right now. Sorry, I must hit the button. We're going to bring that down to 8. Okay, and then we're going to hit the 4 key. So again, we're on the 8 grid. And you see we're off. So what we want to do is I'm going to hit the 3 key. I'm going to grab the brush in the inside on the left, using the left click button, and I'm going to drag a 1 unit over. And then we hit the 4 key, and you can see again I'm lined up to the grid. Now I can check the other side and make sure I'm lined up, and I can check the top and make sure I'm lined up, and I am. So if I want to keep it inside of a certain parameter, you know, I can go here. Like so. Now this brush here is again 8 unit brush, and this is a 4 unit brush. Now you can build on whatever units you want, but it's best to stay, I don't know if I've said this already, but it's best to stay on an 8 unit grid. That being said, we can get into talking about that as we go, but 8 unit grids makes it simple when it comes down to lining stuff up. When you get into detailing, that's completely different than structural. So for now, we're going to stick with structural brushwork. And why do I call it structural brushwork? What's the importance of that? Yeah, well, structural brushwork allows you to, again, set up a map for portaling. And what is portaling? Portaling is something that allows you to make maps that actually work. If you don't take in portaling into account, you can come into some problems. So I've built different maps, and I'll show you examples in one of my videos if you guys pay attention to the channel of why portaling is important and all of that stuff. But for now, we'll say that when you're building a map, you want to build all your structural stuff, your layout, your design, all in regular structural brushes, and everything that makes the map look pretty, everything you put on top of that would be detailed brushwork. And again, we'll get into this as we go. Don't worry. I know it might be daunting, but trust me, this stuff matters. Just let it sit in the back of your head. And for now, we'll just go simply back to the brush we worked on. Okay, so let's start this again. I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to select this here with a shift left click. I'm going to hit a Control C and then a Control V. I'm going to pull this over to the right. Okay, and this can be pulled anywhere I want. It can be moved in a round circle by left clicking this way, but for now, we're just going to pull it right beside it. And then we're going to go and hit Control Tab. And we're going to switch that over to this view here. This is a 4-inch brush again, so we're on a 8 grid scale. All we need to do is hit the 3 button and drag this up 1, and then hit the 4 button again. Now we are on a 4 grid. So we're going to drag this up till we get to 128. Okay, and why 128? Because 128 is a good way to build room height when you're hollowing out stuff, and that's what we're going to show you how to do in a second. Okay, so when you're hollowing out things, you can take a brush like this and actually carve out the inside of it. For these purposes, what we're going to do is we're going to actually make this room a little bit bigger. We're going to spend it down to about, let's say 256 by 256. Okay, so that's 256 down, and we want 256 across. We don't want to make this too big because it's going to be hard to work with in the small windows here. I should say that too, that I use a multiple monitor setup. The more monitors you have, the easier it is for this stuff, because these windows can be docked on another monitor and giving you a bigger space to work with. But that being said, it's quite easy enough to do it in one monitor. When I first started, and for quite a bit of time, I used only one monitor. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to hollow out this brush. And how do you do that? Well, we do that here with the CSG tools. And so we're going to go into, let's see here, we're going to go up here into the view menu. Okay, we're going to see here where it says view toolbar. Right now we're going to take off the CSG brush so you can see it. You see those disappear. So what you need to, if you want those tools, you got to go up view toolbar, click CSG, and this will give you a bunch of different features. Okay, so one is merge brushes into a single convex brush. One is CSG. Hollow. I use hollow a lot. I don't really use too many of the other ones. Subtract brushes from others. I don't use subtract tool too much, though it works, and I can show you guys how to use that. Make structural. That's like I was talking about, between the difference between detail and structural. Okay, so detail just becomes a non-counted brush when it comes down to the computer generating the what we call the geo, or geography of the map. The structure becomes, in a sense, the hardwired structure of what is a wall that blocks visualization. Sorry. I'm getting tired. I gotta get this done. Okay, so make detail here. We don't want to worry about this. We're not going to worry about this right now. And here, this one, to make weapon clip, we're not going to worry about that at all. This is the only one we're going to touch right now. And we're going to click this here, making sure our grid size is at 8. We're going to go back down here, and we're going to click that. And you're going to see it made a brush. Now, if I deselect it by hitting escape, I can select one side only. You can see on the 2-side brush here. Go back to the top. Okay, so if I'm back in the 2D window, I can hit I can hit H to hide the brush. Shift H brings it back. Again, left shift, left click to select. And you can see inside the brush is now hollowed out. Now, this allows you to do simple, structures, so you can take this brush here, you can drag it over here. Okay, Control C, Control V. I will copy the brush. Drag that copied brush over to this side. Let me pull this in a little bit. Escape, left shift, left click, and pull that out. Now we're going to take this one and hit Control C, Control V. Without deselecting anything, we're just going to drag it up here. And we're going to bring it over here until it matches up to that brush. We're going to slide from outside with the left click and pull that over here, and boom, you have a doorway. Now this is a rudimentary basic doorway, but you get the point. Now you can detail this in Declan as you texture the maps and stuff. You'll see how it works better, but for now you got the idea of how brushwork works. It's really that simple. Now you can get into something called mitering corners, or I think mitering or whatever, but you want to make corners 45 degrees, and for this is the reason for this is to save textures. And to do this, it's really simple actually. You just bring up the 2D window for looking from the top, hit the E key. That brings up these 3 dots. Grab this dot here and pull it over to the left when you're on the 8 grid. Then you would take the next brush over here, do the same thing, hit E, grab this one on the inside, and drag that up to here. And so what's happened now, if I hide this here with H, you can see these brushes now meet perfectly. So when you're texturing this, you will texture this side here. That is Control Shift left click to grab only the surface, and Control Shift left click to grab only this surface. Again, the reason for that is because caulking does not render. So this texture here, caulking, will not render, and you see that by hitting F9. Nothing's there. That's rendering like what you would see in game. F9 again, you're back in lit mode, but or game lighting mode, but again, this is something you won't see. These don't render shadows. So when it comes down to it, when you texture this surface and this surface, let's bring up the texture window again by either clicking on the tab or by hitting the T key, and we're going to texture this. Let's go real deep into here for a second here. Let's see if we can find something here. Okay, so I just had to stop at glass. I want to find something that's a little easier to show. Here we go, metal barrier chrome. See if that one works. Oh, we're frozen up. That's the thing. You have to load textures into memory for this. My system's been a little slowed down, so just bear with us for a second. Boom, we've got textures in here. Okay, so you can see this is now a metal texture, and if I go and hit F9, all you see is that texture, and it's flat, and behind it you can't see anything. So yeah, caulking and texturing things properly, making things meet properly, this is important stuff. If you can remember it, it's a good thing. Is it absolutely necessary to do it? If you're just doing this for fun and you never plan on doing this anything past, you know, a map for you and your friends, I don't necessarily worry about it as much, and we'll get into this later, like the do's and don'ts and where you can cheat and where you can't cheat. But for now, let's just say you want to miter your corners in your structural BSP. This will make it a hell of a lot easier to let the map portal properly. And I'll say let the map portal properly because you're not really going to portal the map anymore. And we'll get into that soon enough. Okay, so for now, let's hit the F9 key again, bring this back, and I think you guys got this down. We're going to do one more thing, and that's building a patch. We'll show you guys how patches work real quick. Oh, so this will just be simple patches. I'll do a tutorial on patches and how patches work and what you can do with patches. And if there's other ones out there, I'll look at those and I'll extend off of them, or, you know, but we'll definitely cover patches a little bit. Okay, so we're going to zoom out here, and we're on the 4 grid here. So we're on the number 4, which is the 8 grid. And we're going to hit Control-C, Control-V. We're going to just go left-click on the middle of it, and we're going to drag it. Oh, I'm frozen up a bit, so hold on a second. There we go. So we're going to left-click it, drag it out here. Okay, and then we're going to go up here where it says Patch. We're just going to go Terrain, Simple Terrain Patch. And you can see here as these segments here, as I've lined it up, you've got these lines here will help you determine, at least when you're starting, if you want to stay on the grid, how many rows you will need. Okay, so this being a row, and rows and columns. Okay, so I can't remember which one is which, but just try one, Control-Z, and then go back and you can do it. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, so okay, so you can select this here, and you go 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4. 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4. So we're going to go down, and we're going to do a 4x4. I think will work. Or maybe it has to be 5x5, yeah. Sorry, I think it's one more than, you know, because you already have the original line. So 5x5, we'll line it up. Okay, and why 5x4? I got 4x4. 4x4 quads, which break into triangles. Okay, but really it's the edges. So there's 1 edge, 2 edge, 3 edge, 4 edge, 5 edge, and again, across this way. Anyway, so there you've got your patch. Now, what is your patch? Your patch allows you to do terrain. All sorts of things as well, adding detail to buildings and all sorts of stuff. You can build structures with these as well, but again, they're not usually used for structural work. They're used more for detail work, I would say, or for the ground. But for now, you can see by holding V, you can see all the different verts, and you can manipulate these verts by holding down the left click and dragging out, and you see the blue ones that are selected. And now with the arrows, you can move only these verts. Okay, and so you can move them this way, you can move them up, and again, as you can see, you can control them quite a bit. Now, if you hit, while they're selected, if you hit Alt-O, that extends or shoots out another set of quads or another row. And you can do that on both sides. That's quite easy to go boom, like so, and then hit Alt-O, and it extends it again. You can also cut the patch or add an extra line of verts or an extra line of edges by hitting Control-Shift-A. Okay, and that allows you to manipulate more. We'll get into curve patches in the in another vid, because curve patches are cool and you can do a lot of things with them. But to keep this video as short as possible, I'll say this is how you do it, and you can see how that works with patches. Now, if I want to make another patch, say, I can copy this one here, Control-C. Oh wait, let's hit Escape first. Then hit left Shift and left click to select it, and Control-C, Control-V. We're going to drag this over here, and you can see these don't necessarily meet up right. Well, what we can do is we can select both patches. The first one being the parent patch, the second one being the child patch. And you do that again by Shift left click. While that one's selected, again, holding down Shift, or you can let go of it again, but then click and hold it again, left Shift, then left click. You want to hit V key, and you're going to highlight these two verts together and hit W, and that's going to bring the child patches vert over to the parent patches vert. Okay, and you can do this all the way down. Or what you can do is called a tolerant weld, and that is done by hitting Control-Shift-J, and you can see this up here in the patch menu. Where is it? It was up here before, I swear. Here. Toggle tolerant weld, Control-Shift-J. Okay, so what that will allow you to do is select a bunch of verts that equally spaced, hit W, and they'll join together. So it depends what you do. I don't use tolerant weld too much because it's quick enough to do it the other way, but either way works for you. So, okay, for now, I think you guys got the basics of how patches work and stuff like this and how you would apply patches. So you get a gist of this. If this was the ground, this could butt right up against the wall here, say, as you can see the patch here. And if this was textured, and that, you can texture stuff by going Control-Shift, holding down Control Shift and middle mouse button, that will give you whatever texture you've selected. So say it's this better metal here, Control Shift T, or Control Shift middle mouse, Control Shift middle mouse, and you'll select all the textures. So now, actually, yeah, this won't be the last thing. There's one more thing, which is lighting real quick. And up here, you'll see in the camera window, if you right click here, you see exposures checked. Normally, I think it comes like that when you first load it. So you're going to want to right click on a blank space, hit the exposure, make sure there's a check mark, and then you can select high, which is what lighting, low, medium, high. For now, let's go low because it's simple. Click the light button. It's going to give you all your textures, and you're going to see things in proper light. Should have done that at the beginning. Anyways, okay, for now, you guys got how, you know, the basic setups of how this works. We're not getting into polymap yet or any of that stuff. But yeah, for now, this is the first tutorial. Just getting you acquainted with the tools. I hope it didn't, you know, ramble too long, but as I get used to doing them again, I'll tighten them up. Okay, for this tutorial, I'll probably do a couple more tonight, but for this tutorial, thanks for checking it out. Have a good one, and we'll see you again in the next one. Peace.